Afternoon, everybody. Today is Trans Day. Today what I'm going to try to be doing is to remedy something that's been bothering me for a long time on this truck. If you listen, you'll hear what I'm talking about. That shift right there, that 2-3 bump and then bang into gear. That goes away and comes back basically whenever it feels like, with no rhyme or real reason as to why. I've been told, oh, maybe a throttle position sensor or something along the lines of that, but it has new throttle position sensors because there was another issue going on with it going into REP for no freaking reason at all. Lo and behold, we're here now, and I took a gamble for about $160, and we're going to drop in the CT Powertrain Shift Correct kit. Basically, it comes with the pinless accumulators for 1, 2, and 2, 3, and then a 3, 4 accumulator, and then it has the VET servo and all that stuff. But basically, the whole idea of that is right on the box. It says it stops the bump, slip, bump, 1, 2, and 2, 3 shifts. So we're gonna see what happens there. I mean, my whole problem with the truck is, like, it's been doing this for a while now. And I had always said, oh, the trans is slipping, but I've pulled the dipstick on this. This has had the same fluid in it now for 60 or 70,000 miles, which is about when it started doing it. The fluid looks brand new. It doesn't have that burnt smell. Like, if you had a trans slipping problem, you would smell it, you would see it, you would feel it. And it wouldn't keep doing this for this long. It would get worse. Some days it's horrible, some days it doesn't do it at all. And the other thing that's weird about it is as you step on the throttle, it seems to get better the more gas you're giving it. So, in all honesty, what's going on just doesn't make any damn sense. So I'm betting on it being part the accumulators, part the valve body, and part a worn separator plate. But I'm hoping that this shift correction kit will take care of it. So, I've never torn into a transmission before, so this is going to be as much of a learning curve for you guys as it is for me, and you're probably going to laugh at me while I do some of this because I've never done it before. But it's going to be fun. A couple of things that you're going to want to get that's not included with the CT Powertrain kit is definitely a filter and pan gasket. You're going to want to figure out if you have a deep or a shallow pan. This truck actually happens to have a deep pan. Once I crawl under it, I'll explain to you exactly what the differences between the two are. But it's pretty easy to tell once you're under there what it needs. You're also going to need some fluid. I'm going to try and get like 6-8 quarts. I'm pretty sure a pan drop in this is good for about 5 or 6. So you should only need 5 or 6. I'll let you know officially what you need after it's done. Some rags and a place to work, obviously. But overall, pretty much everything else that you need is included in the kit. So we're going to go down this street here, and I'm going to show you what I mean about giving it more throttle. So that was about 2/3 throttle-ish, half throttle. And the shifts get better the more pressure you have, which when you're slipping a trans, or when you have a slipping trans, generally isn't the case. So we're going to see what happens here. The other thing with a slipping trans too is generally when you get a downshift, you'll just get a flash up and it won't really bite. So once we come out of this turn here, I'm going to give it a nice little 4-2 downshift or 4-3 downshift, and we'll see what happens here. But no, it just goes. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Catch you on the flip side. So we're just gonna real quick do a from stop again. and that's that 2.3. And as you can tell, it's not as much of a like flare up as it was before. And the 1.2 on these is always has been slow. But I mean, it's not like it's slipping or anything. It's just holding the gear a little bit longer, like it's sluggish to shift between the gears. But if you give it more throttle, it keeps accelerating. It doesn't just flash up. So it's very strange. We're gonna see what happens. All right, so this actually ends up working out to be one of those strange circumstances where things work in my favor. And by that I mean, there's actually a drain plug in this oil pan, transmission fluid pan, which is super nice. One of the things I'm going to show you how to do real quick is to determine between the short and shallow and deep pan. So basically the shallow pans are flat on the bottom and the deep pans have this little step right here. That's honestly the only real difference that I know of on how to tell, because otherwise they all have the same 16 bolts around the outside and everything. However, having that drain plug right there makes life so much easier. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that drain plug out and let this drain. However, if you do not have a drain plug available, what you would have to do is you would loosen all the pan bolts and leave like 1 or 2 in the back or the front end and kind of like pry it down so that it can drip out the front into your pan. So I'm going to set that up real quick. Okay. Pan bolt is 15 millimeter. I'm not going to be able to do this with one hand. Sorry about this. Just when you think things are gonna go easy. Sorry about that. The bolt wouldn't freaking come off, so I had to bust it off with the impact. And then when I did that, it started dropping the ATF everywhere, which then the wind picked up and started blowing it everywhere, including on the camera. So as it sits right now, I'm just gonna put the plug back in the pan and we'll go from there. So continuing on, I had told you there are 16 bolts holding it in. I just went around with the ratchet real quick and broke them free. None of them were super duper tight, probably like 15 foot-pounds or so. You know, snug. I'll actually give you the torque spec when I'm done, but I'm just going to go around and take them all off now. 13 millimeter socket. We're doing this, the pan drop for the fluid. This is about what you'd want, and the fluid would start running out the front and you would have your catch pan there. Since my pan's already empty, I don't got to worry about that. However, there's still a little bit of fluid in there, so I'm going to just hold the pan up to the truck and loosen up that back bolt the rest of the way so that I don't drop the little bit of fluid that's in there when you do it. Basically, I'm just going to put one hand here and loosen it with the other hand. You don't really need to see that. Alright, so one thing that I did have to do to get that off that I wasn't expecting was the bracket for the shift cable over there. I had to bend that out of the way a little bit, so all I did was there's a metal clip that goes on the bracket like that. I popped that out, and then I pulled the cable off, and I popped it off the linkage arm up there, and then just put a screwdriver in and then kind of like leaned it over so I could drop the pan out of the way. If you watch Mayo3LT's video, you can see how he does it, but I tried and just ended up stripping out the Torx bit. Like, it's like corroded in place and all nasty and disgusting, so anyway, there are an assortment of bolts that hold this in place, as well as these clips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop off the plugs for the solenoid right now. For the most part, these are held in with 10mm. There's a couple of 8mm. I want to say it's 3. It might be 2. But we're going to do these guys real quick. So these are just kind of held in like so. So you do one of these. This is going to prove to be harder than I thought. People ask me why I don't wear gloves when I do things. Can't feel what you do. Oh, God. I'm going to grab a pick. Alright, so here we go. Alright, I just kind of like, and then popped it, and it went, so. That's all fine and good. There's this guy, which I'm not 100% sure what is going on here. That's probably PWM solenoid. Great. So that's gonna have to come out the way, but actually, wait, no, that's not part of the valve body. I can see it. Oh, fuck me. 3 mils. Here. And the rest of 10s. Last one is that middle guy, and we gotta pull this rod out. As far as the separator plate goes, there's 3 8mm bolts in the back, and then the accumulator housing bolts on those 3 right there, and then the plate just kind of drops right down. I needed 2 hands for that. I didn't want to drop any of the check bolts. Alright, so first things first. This is the CT Powertrain full-blown kit. You name it, it's got it. The kit also includes the new separator plate, and it tells you to check out a couple of things. So to use this plate, it must have the second type 3-2 valve, the pulse width modulation solenoid, and no hole EP, which is right here. And if we check out this separator plate here, you can see right down here it has that screen, and then it has a hole, and then it doesn't have a hole above it. That's good. That means we can use that separator plate. I'm going to Assume for now it has the 3-2 valve. Once we pull the valve body apart, we can actually check to confirm it. And most of the transmissions have a pulse width modulation solenoid. If we look here, it says pulse width modulation on the valve body, which if we check out our valve body, we have, for the most part, pretty much all 4L60s after 96 have the pulse width modulation torque converter lockup. There's not a ton of them that don't. So we're gonna go ahead and make a leap of faith that we have everything we need to do this. So I'm gonna get situated with some tools, and we're gonna start tearing into everything following the order of the books. Alright, so we're gonna start on page 1. This is the 1-2 accumulator, and this is the 1-2 accumulator. So as you can see, this transmission has the 3rd type accumulator piston. This is the plastique one, and as you can tell, we got to get that out. So these guys kind of go in there like so. So I'm just going to give it a little. And it popped out like that. That's the plastic. And there are 2 springs. We have a green and we have a yellow. What we're going to do is I'm actually going to hose this out with brake clean real quick. Get these guys off. And we're going to open our kit. Alright. First things first, we're going to open up the Sonax kit. This is the 77998-03. I believe this is for the 1-2 accumulator. Yeah, so for this, you're going to have to pull the cover apart, plug pin bore by driving the appropriate size sonic steel ball into it, lightly stake, remove OE pistons ring from 1-2 or 3-4 accumulator. For 1-2 location, which is this guy, you're going to have to drive a ball into it and then stake after installation. So probably going to actually have to hammer this guy out. Yeah. Alright, so I got a socket. I'm just going to drop in there like so. Drop it down here. I got a punch to peen it over, and I got a punch to beat the thing out. So all we're going to do is just give it a couple taps, and it should come out. Didn't gull the housing or anything, but I'm going to spray it real quick with brake clean, just cool, on the safe side. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take this guy, go to our Sonax piston that is open, and there are 2 check balls in there. You get a big one and a small one. I'm going to see which one drops down in there. I'm going to imagine that it's not the big one. Actually, I'm going to drop the small one in first. Yeah, okay, so the small one went right in. And then we're just going to peen that bad boy over so that that can never come out. See? Peened over. I took this punch, put it in here, and just wailed on it until the hole was noticeably smaller than the check ball. That way it wouldn't come out. So for the Sonax kit, you have a rubber ring and a D-ring, which I'm honestly not entirely sure which is which. I'm going to go with the hard ones, the Teflon, though. And judging by what I'm seeing, the Vuitton rubber one goes into the, which is the D-ring, goes into the dome end, which is the smaller groove. So we're just going to do this guy real quick here. That looks about right. And then the D-ring, which is the thicker of the two, goes into the groove at the pocket end, which is that side. Like so. And that should be that. So, going by the shift kit, we had the third type, right? Because it had the plastic. So that's telling you to use the orange, the white, and the orange. However, since we're swapping to a aluminum accumulator piston, we're instead going to use the orange, the white, and the red, since it states here that you can use a second type piston with either the second or third type housing and then using the second type springs. So since we're using a new piston that's aluminum, I'm going to assume that we use the orange, the white, and the red rather than the orange, the white, and the orange. So we're alright, so going back to the Sonex manual, for 1-2 piston, which is what we're doing, 94 and earlier, dome end, which is this side, it goes in. 94 and later, install springs into accumulator body, set piston pocket opening spring dome end toward plate. So we're going to do this real quick. Going to go spring. So we're doing orange, white, orange. So spring. I'm just going to do it this way, because it's easier to align everything. Spring, spring. And this is the red guy. Spring. We're just gonna push this guy down. Like so. So we're gonna talk about this scene for a second. So remember that part where I was saying that some springs were incompatible according to the Sonex kit? Yeah, so as it turns out, the springs in the shift kit are significantly shorter in height than the stock springs in the accumulator piston. And that incompatibility issue arises from the fact that the aluminum pinless piston is larger, like the crown is higher out than the stock one. So basically, if you use the springs from the shift kit, you get next to no accumulation in that bore before it bottoms out on the bottom, which luckily I had caught it before we ran it, but I figured that it would be best just to like do a little voiceover here to reuse the stock springs. The shifts are phenomenal. They're not like super harsh, but they're not like slow and soft like they were. They're just right, in my opinion, for a daily driver. So we're gonna leave it at that. And I would recommend that you either reuse it or get the springs that Sonex recommends for the accumulator. But for my situation, the springs were more than adequate for what I needed. Probably shouldn't have put that on there dry. I'll do the second piston now. So the only thing I didn't show was taking this out, only because like it was a pain in the ass to get apart. So basically, this cap's on the side of your transmission like so, and there's a little snap ring that rests in this groove here. So what I did was I just took a pry bar and pushed on it and popped out the snap ring with a pick, let it slide out, grabbed the O-ring that's on this groove here with another pick, pulled down on it, and then just took everything out piece by piece. And then at some point I realized that you could unbolt the heat shield and get it out of the way. So that's that. So if yours wasn't in pieces, this is actually the order it should have come out in. So we're going to take off the cap here. Underneath the cap is your fourth piston. I'm going to put that off to the side. And then you have your second piston and the housing. So this housing comes off as well. It's actually a little loose on here, which is surprising. That's going to go to the side there. It has this ring. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take this seat clip here. Push down on the spring. Pop the seat clip out. spring washer. Pull the pin out. It comes. Doesn't want to come, that's fine. On this side, there's a snap ring, and the contents behind that snap ring are under pressure. Alright, so we took apart the piston. We just clamped it with a wood clamp, snapped out the snap ring, pulled it apart. So it has this plate in here, and this spring, which you're actually going to reuse this spring. And then you're going to use a blue and black spring from the kit and a coil spacer. So what we're going to do now is you have to grind 4 notches into this plate here. I'm just going to do that with a bench grinder. And this is actually getting replaced with the vet servo that also comes in the kit. So that stuff can go off to the side there. Alright, so we got our notches in it. Like so. Looks okay. Deburred it all real quick. Make sure it was good. And the next step is we're going to need our blue and our black spring, which is in this kit. So we're putting the coil spacer in, dropping that guy in. This is the spring we're reusing. We're going to put our, if I can get it apart, blue spring in, like so, and our black spring in. From the kit, we also have our coil wire in the bottom there, and that's going to be that. I'm going to pull apart our vet servo real quick. So for the vet servo, you would take this and just kind of together, compress it, and then put your snap spring in. However, I'm going to clean this real quick. Yeah, so just so you know, I had to hit this real quick with the wire wheel because it wouldn't slide into the new servo. Now it does, so just a FYI. Alright, so the Corvette servo comes with 2 new D-rings. You got the small guy that goes here and the big guy that goes here. So it also comes with the actual piston itself, so all you do is you put the 2 seams together, you pop the piston on that, and you sort of just walk it over, making sure it stays in the groove. Like so. And you have your big one on. We need to put our spring, washer, C-clip, fingers of steel, and that's all together like that. I'm just going to hit it with the screwdriver just to make sure that's in all the way. Cool. So now your assembly should look like this. As you can see, these are the oil relief holes that were notched into the plate. We have our springs in. So now the next step, which is the gold shim, which is what they're referring to, is this. Goes between the housing and the cover, which is this guy right here. So basically, what it's saying is make sure the band moves freely on the drum from front to rear, which is on page 7 of this booklet. And if the band's too tight, you take out the shim. If the band isn't too tight, you leave it in. I've seen a lot of people not bother with this. I've also seen some people bother with it. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do at this point. However, for now, I'm going to leave it out because I can put it in at the last second if I so choose. Next thing we need is the 4th piston. Goes on there like so. Actually, I'm going to spray that with brake clean real quick. Just get it all nice and clean. Like so. And then you have the cover plate, which I'm going to spray as well. So that's pretty nasty. And your second piston is now assembled. Well, second forward piston. We're going to put this off to the side with the 1-2 accumulator piston. Okay. Just a note, when it's referring to identify the piston by number, that's the part number that's stamped inside the piston here. This is a 553. Not entirely sure which set of springs that we're going to use. However, you can do a Corvette servo upgrade without going inside and changing the springs, so I think I'm going to use the set of springs that are supposed to be used with the stock 1-2 piston, just because I'd rather not take the chance of having extremely harsh shifts in a daily. Okay. Alright, so getting into it real quick, we're going to make the modifications to the new separator plate, as that's the next step. So, following the directions here, we're going to start with this guy right here. This is the 1-2 shift hole. So this is right next to a check ball. Boom, boom. Okay. Which it basically already is, so that's cool. So this is a .063 bit, so we want short but smooth. So now this one is fourth, right here, which should be .086 to .093. If plate has this hole, drill to .093 and drill to .093. So we're going to switch to the .093 bit real quick. Check it with our dial indicator. Okay. So this should be that. So plate down here, drill .093. Cool. Plate has that hole, drill .093, which it does. Okay, this is the fourth. .086 to .093, so we're going to check that real quick. And there is some room to spare there. We'll leave it. And this one we drilled to .063. So next we want to go to that guy, which it says to drill .093. Okay. Oops. The paper sticking up out the end makes you think you got a little more table than you have. So this one, .093, it's okay if it's already bigger, so that's fine. So this guy, drill .093. Done. Check ball here, drill .093, done. That. Drill that one .093. Done. The last one. That guy. So there should be that. So. Okay, so it's not a .093, so it's .07, .0776, which fits in there perfectly. So it's a little bit bigger than .077, so we're just going to leave that one alone. And we did that one. Okay. Large screen valve to side to screen stuck together, causing low line pressure at high throttle, burns up clutches and band wire spacer, keeps the sliding. Okay, so we're not going to bother drilling that. We're going to put the wire spacer, which is in one of these baggies. Wire spacer. And this is the other one. And that fell out. Nice. So this is the ISO converter valve. It's held in with a little clip in here. Like so. With a plug. Small spring. New ISO valve replaces all of the valves. Now we need to get the last part out, which is stuck in here probably. Like so. So this is the third type. That would go in there like that. So here's one of the things that it actually states. If you have cylinder deactivation, you're going to use a spacer behind your new valve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the new valve. That's the way it's going to go in. There's a threaded end on this side that you can use the bolt that it comes with to put in. Like so. And since this is a normal use, install the blue spring. Models with deactivation, install the spacer with the recessed end outward, and do not use the blue spring. So what it says to do here is insert the ISO control valve into the bore using a hex bolt as the handle and push the valve in and out at least 20 times with slight pressure. The valve must be able to fall in and out of the bore. So I'm going to thread the bolt in. And we're going to push her in, like so. And we're just going to and she slides right out like butter. Spring. Go to the kit. We're going to take out the blue spring. And we're going to drop that bad boy in like that. And you want to make sure all the way in and seats in the back of that slot. Actually, there. What I'm going to do is make sure it seats on the spring like so. And then just feed it in. That way I know it's good. Plug. This is being reused. Pop it in the end. Get your freaking clip. Like so. And that's that. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take out, we're on page 5 now, we're going to take out the pressure control solenoid like this. 1/8mm bolt holds this retainer on. Put that off to the side. And the actuator valve should just come out like so. Put him off to the side. And then there should be another one of those plugs. And what I'm going to do is, this is the actuator valve, so I'm going to hold some pressure on this with a socket and then pick out the next spring clip if I can get my hand on it. Okay, clip is out. Actuator valve does not want to come out. Plug, and then it should be spring and actuator valve. Which the actuator valve does not appear to want to come out. Yeah. Okay. Actuator valve, spring. Actuator valve goes in like so. Reuse original spring. Put the valve. And then we're installing a white spring. Fits nicely inside of that spring too. So we're going to put the actuator valve back in. Oh, that is right. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, it was in there like that.
It's a flat spot on it.
Yeah. You're talking about the outer groove, right?
This on the up disc.
This part. Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. Line that up. Okay, that's good. It's held in place now, so we're going to go on to the next part, which is the torque valve. There's some spring under here. Beware of that. Okay. So this has a green spring. Put that off to the side. And there is the low valve, which goes over here. Then there's a divider that's pinned in. So looks like this guy's gonna have to come off real quick. No clue what's under here. Put that off to the side for now. And hold that, and I need my punch. Pin fell out. This pin for this accumulator came out as well. We'll put that off to the side. We'll put the spring for that off to the side. And we'll pull the accumulator out, since why not? Okay, so that spacer is actually grooved so that you know which way the pin has to go through it. We'll put that off to the side. I'll move the roll pin off to the side. We're going to take out the spring, put it here, and the torque valve does not appear to want to come out. Alright, so now we're going to do the Sonax forward accumulator piston, the pinless upgrade. So it's sort of the same thing. Basically, what you're doing is inside this bore here, after you take the old one out, you pull the pin out. As you saw before, the pin kind of just dropped out. The pinless accumulator comes with these two balls, and we're just going to drop them in the hole where the pin was. And it doesn't really want to go. So I'm going to take the hammer real quick and just give it a light tap like that. And then I'm going to take the centering punch and push it in the rest of the way, because it says to use both. Bottomed out. And put the second one in and do the same thing. Okay, so they're both pushed in there now. And if you look at the diagram, you can see exactly what I just did, which was that. So now we're just going to pin it over, and I'm going to do the same thing as I did before. I'm going to get that big flat punch, wherever it may be. So you can see it's pined over now, all nicey nice. And we're going to get started on putting the throttling valve, the torque valve back together. So first we're going to take the old spring. Just wipe that out there real quick, because that's nasty looking. So the way it goes is the old spring drops in to the bore. Then it says install a 3/16 steel ball inside of the original spring. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the smaller of the two steel balls that come in the kit down inside of the spring. Next it says to put the divider back in. So drop that in there. And we have a flathead screwdriver. can use to help keep everything all nice and lined up. So for the roll pin, all you want to do is let's go in from this side. Using the screwdriver, keep the pin part, keep pointed straight up, and get it down. And for good luck, tap it in just a little bit. It's pretty much flush on the other side, so that should be good. Steel balls are in, that's in. We're going to put together that piston real quick. So this is the 787. D-ring seal goes on the closed end. Teflon seal goes on the other side. Take oil from the bore. Says to reuse the OE spring, which was this black one. This one also actually says to lubricate. So put a little lubrication on. Which it doesn't really seem to be taking too kindly, so I'm going to have to go get some more lube. So just lubricating the seals up real quick. Put a little on the inside of the bore. Open end comes out. Put it in. Reuse OE spring. Both say to reuse the original spring only. We're going to listen to it. The divider's in. We're going to take our low valve now. And that goes like that. And we're going to get our yellow spring from the kit. Like so. And I'm just going to wipe this guy out real quick. Reinstall. Okay, that's done. So we've done so far actuator valve, torque valve, low valve, accumulator pin for forward, manual valve is right here. So according to this, for faster reverse, you can actually grind a chamfer here. I'm not going to do that because I don't give a shit. But I am just going to wipe it down real quick. Okay. That goes back in the bore. Fair enough. Cool. Now we're going to go to the 3-2. Again, it's held in with one of those stupid freaking clip things. Clip. 3-2 solenoid out. we get to see what type of 3-2 valve is in here. So for the 3-2 valve, as you can see, it has the second type, so it's calling for the plain spring. So we're going to take and throw this out. And in one of these bags here, there should be a plain spring. This one. Doesn't feel much different than the other one, but whatever. That. Quick wipe down if we can. You can see that it's rubbing on the inside of the bore there a little bit, but that's fine. And we'll just drop that right back in. And we'll actually push it in with the spring this way, the valve this way, just to make sure it goes in all the way. It's in, flip it around the other way. Just going to make sure that it moves. All nice and free like so. Solenoid. Also give it a wipe down. Back in. It's back over here, and we have the ability to. Okay. Alright, so we just had a meeting of the minds here discussing this. And basically this is what it comes down to. The chart here gives you the piston number and the bushing codes to use. We know that we have bushing code DX. Now, if you were reusing the stock piston for the number 2, it would have the 553 piston with the DX bushing, and you would use the yellow spring. However, we're assuming that since we're using the 093, which is the Corvette servo, and it has the DX bushing, that we should be using the white spring, and it should achieve the same level of shifting that this one does using that spring. So we're going to use that spring.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. So we're going to use the white. The way the bushing's held in, it's got another roll pin, but it doesn't go all the way through. So you have to reach in the side here and actually push the roll pin out. So I'm going to do that right now. Screwdriver. And the notch. So if I can get the thing out. So the U faces down, like so. Okay, put that off to the side there, and we're going to remove the stock spring. So now we're going to go into the kit. And we are going to look for the white spring, which is this guy. Which is actually substantially softer in spring rate than the original one is. I'm curious just to see. So this is saying for the other one to use the yellow spring, which is more along the lines of the same firm. This is the one that was in there. So we're going to reuse this. We're going to use the white spring. Pop him on the end there. V goes down. And actually, I'm just going to make sure there's not a pocket that this has to go into in there. There is. So I'm going to drop that down into that pocket. Standing up. Actually, I lied. It's probably easier just to do it this way. Okay. Roll pin back in. May have pushed that in a little too far. I did. There we go. You get the idea. And as far as this kit goes, that's that. The only other thing left is the fourth accumulator piston and the valve on the pressure valve, which I'm going to do tomorrow because it's late and I'm tired. So that's that. Afternoon. The temperature change from today to yesterday is pretty fucking substantial. So what we're going to tackle today under the car, and we're probably going to do this in shifts, is first things first, going to get to the boost valve on the pump stator. To do this, you're just going to need a pair of snap ring pliers and a screwdriver or bolt or something. So let's go. So this is probably the shittiest angle of camera angles ever. However, the front of the truck is this way. And this is the driver's side from underneath. And if you look up in there, you can see a snap ring holding the boost valve in. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my snap ring pliers. I'm going to need two hands for this. Hold on. Alright. As you can see, the boost valve is dropping down. And I'm gonna just grab this with my other hand because I need two hands again. So the boost valve in the spring came out. And the second side of the valve should stay up in there like so. You can see it. So we're just going to leave that for now. And as you can see, there are two springs on the boost valve. Let's go over to the instructions and we'll look at them. So we're reusing the boost bushing and the inside pin, and we're replacing it with the 2 orange springs. Which, if we come over to the kit here, we have our new snap ring and our 2 orange springs. Boost valve, 2 new springs, and then the inner part of the valve. Back up into the bore. Okay, I'm just gonna real quick grab my snap ring pliers. Okay, got my snap ring on the end of the snap ring pliers, and now if I can get this to stand, which I can, hopefully you can see this. What I'm gonna do is, oh damn, it popped off. Not up all the way. Neat. I'm gonna grab a screwdriver. And that's in. Nice. Okay. So as you can see, hopefully you're able to see that angle. But boost valve done. Last thing on the list is the 4th accumulator piston? Question mark? That guy back there. I'm gonna go back to the manual. So this is the 4th accumulator. And basically it says to remove and discard the original spring, install the yellow spring into the case, install the 4th accumulator piston as shown. Even if it wasn't that way originally, it's okay. So basically they want the spring to go into the trans with the piston pointing down. So we're gonna go over to the Sonax. So here's what I was referring to where I was a little bit confused with the kit. Basically, what I'm going to say is we're going to follow the Sonax one, where it says for the 3/4 piston, we're going to install the dome end, which is the flat side, into the case, which is just like stock. And this one in particular has a spring, it's this guy. However, in the kit it came with this guy, and it states spring to skip piston flip step and shift kit and use pinless. So what I'm going to assume is this yet white spring right here that was in that bag replaces this blue spring, and that allows us to put the piston in the same way it was but using this white spring instead, I would imagine. The other thing we're going to do again real quick is just put the rings on. You have your 2, you have your D, and then you have your Teflon. The Teflon goes on the open end, which is the stiffer of the 2. The grooves are different sizes, and the Teflon one only fits on the open end. So we're just going to... And that's done as well. Cool. So real quick, we're just gonna pull out the fourth piston. Or not. Alright, so that one does not need a check ball peened in or anything like that, so we're not going to worry about it. Since that ATF is clean, I'm actually going to use that to lubricate the seal on the new one and put it in. So I've got a nice coating of lubrication on there, and we're just going to slide it up. And if it'll go, which it doesn't seem to want to be going. There we go. Into the bore like so. And we're just gonna check and make sure our gasket didn't hop off or anything like that. It did not. That's good. So now, everything under here is ready to go, and everything in the valve body is ready to go. So we're getting there. So I'm going to quick show you how to put the vet servo in. I'm going to put it in without this O-ring real quick. So I'm going to only show you this part, because I want to check the end play on the band and know if I need to keep this shim in or out. So I'm going to put it together real quick and then go back. So I'll show you how the first half goes in. Alright, we're going to try this again. This time, we're just going to do it with the base piece. So I'm sorry I didn't, record that or anything. But, I seriously needed two hands and there was just no good way to get the angle. So basically, I put that first piece in and, got the, all fed in and everything. Had the spring on it and kind of just worked it in like this and folded it into the hole. And you can tell it's good because of the way it seats. You could feel that it's still on there and everything, so that's good. The next bit that has to go in is this part with the O-ring. So I'm just gonna make sure that the center little Teflon seal thing is still on that center groove. And we're gonna put that in. And that went on way too easy, which makes me think that that little Teflon thing popped off that groove, so I'm going to check that real quick off camera. So it is in fact good, so that means the next step is the shim. And then followed by your cover with the cup seal. And I'm going to put this on off camera, and I'm going to show you how to do it with the O-ring. Yeah, so this is one of those things where you need two hands, definitely. Basically, I took the pry bar and put it up against the cat and just kind of wedged the cap down until the piece of wire went through. But, so that's that. I'm going to go grab a screwdriver, and we're going to check the band clearance. That's the band. Got the O-ring on, it's looped up with some Vaseline, and we're just gonna pop it in like so. Son of a bitch. Hold on. Sorry about that. I just pried on it at the top with the pry bar. Yeah, she's good. So, I'm gonna put pressure on it like this. Put that there. And hopefully you can see this somewhat. Okay, that's that. Hopefully you were able to see that. Alright, so we're into the check balls. There's 7. Valve body. Instructions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which should translate to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's got a cup of Vaseline. And I'm just gonna dab a little Vaseline into each of the 7 pockets so that I can see where the check balls actually have to go. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Check balls. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, looks good. That's that. One other thing for the valve body gasket. Just match up the gasket to the ones that you have. Mine said VB and CA, so I just matched them up to the gaskets that were already on my old separator plate, and that was that. I would imagine the valve body, the one that says VB, is the one that goes up against the valve body, and then the CA is the one that goes up against the car side of the case. So, that's that. Gaskets in place, ready to go back out to the frozen tundra. So there was one check ball that I almost forgot about, and it's the one that goes up into the case, and that goes on this guy right here. So we're just going to do the same thing. I'll dab of Vaseline. And we're going to get the check ball, which is this guy right here. Give him a quick wipe down. Like so. Okay. So when it goes back in the car, the plate's going to have to go up first, and you're going to have to use the spreader bar that was bolted here, and then the accumulator, and bolt it back in, and then everything else can just kind of get bolted back in, but I'll show you that when I'm under it. So first thing on the agenda, spray the valve body down real quick with some brake clean. Okay, so remember that white spring I was telling you about for the piston flip or whatever? I'm going to take this guy, like so, and we're going to stick him up into that fourth accumulator bore. And into the piston. That way we don't have to fight with it when we're putting the pan back on. So he'll stay stuck up in there with the Vaseline like that, and then we can put the separator plate on and bolt those supporting bolts in the back there. So this is one of those things that's really hard to show, but basically I have that spacer plate on the bottom here and the two gaskets on the thing, and I'm gonna try my best to give you a somewhat decent view of me trying to get this in. So we'll see how this goes. One. That's 2. And that makes 3. So, I just got these 3. And they're loose on the back at the moment. Now I'm just aligning the gaskets up to the holes, like so. And that looks like it's pretty good. All the gaskets line up with their associated holes. The little spring retainer for the seat thing is there. Check ball's still in back there. So now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to snug those 3 bolts down. Not super tight, just snug. And I'm going to show you how to put the accumulator in. So I'll be back in a second with that. For the record, the accumulator has 3 bolts. 2 short ones go in the back here, and the long one goes on the front one there. So right now I just have the long bolt in the accumulator, and I'm putting it toward the back like so, with the long one facing toward the driver's side of the car. These are all 10mm, by the way. Alright, that's started. I'm gonna grab one of the other guys, spin it around like so. Get him in and get him started. And get the back one started as well. Okay, just gonna snug those up off real quick. So real quick, since they were not going in like super easy, I just loosened up ever so slightly those 3 back bolts, and now they're threading in really easy. So that's that. Take 3. I'm getting the valve body in. I took the detent spring off. That should help. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Alright. So, I'm going to start with the 3/8 nose, which that goes. There. One goes there. And one goes. Okay. C, which is 9. So 2 D's go on there. These are the shortest ones. And go on the corner with the dipstick holder. And the last should be the 9 C's. Which should go here. 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 And there. All right. So I'm just going to real quick go over these bolts with a ratchet and then mark each one with a Sharpie. Okay, next step is the clips. Okay, real quick, detent roller back. Keep mill. Okay, quick, gonna do a filter. Looks good to me. All right. For the sake of redundancy, I didn't show you me putting in all the bolts by hand. Just going to start from the middle and work our way out. Works for me. That's good. That's in. Was took my pry bar back. That's good. So this is the post-shift kit test drive. And I mean, you know, we've test drove it for quite a little bit, but we had some issues that went on. The 3.2 shift solenoid went bad and actually stuck the car in third gear, and just a whole bunch of slew of issues. I was nervous I killed the trans doing that, but as it turns out, all is well. And I mean, thing shifts like $1 million. Nice smooth shifts, no that or flare or anything like that. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. We'll see how it does, you know, over the next couple weeks, but right now, it's mint. I love this truck. Also, the pulse width modulation delete on the torque converter is pretty nice too. The torque converter comes in like a fifth gear basically, and the disengagement from it's pretty nice too. It's instantaneous. those are some nice grippy shifts. I'm happy. Catch you later.